I wanted to understand why this keeps happening. Every year, the same image. Boats, fences, people walking through jungles, politicians giving speeches. And then, the next year, the same image again. So, I started asking a different question. Not why are people leaving? I understood that part. The question I couldn't find an answer to was simpler. Who is making money from this? Because somebody is. The United Nations estimates that moving people illegally across the borders generates over $10 billion a year. 10 billion. That is not a desperate side operation. That is an industry. And industries don't just happen. They have investors. They have structure. They have people who need them to keep running. That is what this video about. This is about the money, the network, and the uncomfortable question, who actually benefits when human beings become a product. Before we get into the money, I want to show you something. Around 700 BC, the Assyrian Empire had a very specific policy. For the territories it conquered, they didn't just take the land, they took the people. Entire populations were picked up and moved hundreds of miles away. The Israelites taken to Babylon. The peoples of Samaria scattered across Mesopotamia, moved people far enough from their homeland, and they lose their identity, their networks, their ability to organize, their ability to resist. The Assyrians understood something that we don't talk about enough. Controlling where people live is one of the most powerful tools a state can have. Fast forward to 1955, West Germany. The war is over. The country is rebuilding, but they needs workers. So the German government makes a deal with Turkey, with Italy, with Greece, with Morocco. Come and work, they said. And when the work is done, you go home. They called them Gastarbeiter. It means guest workers. Except they didn't go home. They stayed. They had children. They become part of the Germany in a way the government had never anticipated and never fully planned for. Two very different moments in history, thousands of years apart, but the same basic logic. Someone decided where people should move and why. The question I kept coming back to as I researched this video is simple. Right now, in 2026, who is making that decision? And more importantly, who does it serve? Let me show you what this looks like on the ground. 2024 was the deadliest year ever recorded for people crossing borders irregularly. More than 9,200 people died or disappeared on migration routes worldwide. And since 2014, the IOM has now documented over 80,000 deaths. 80,000 people. And the vast majority of them paid someone to make the journey. To cross from the West Africa to the Libyan coast and get on the boat to Europe, you pay between $1,000 and $5,000 to cross the Darien Gap, that stretch of jungle between Colombia and Panama. The going rate is around $500 to $1,000 to move through Southeast Asia, across borders that officially don't allow you through. You pay a broker, always a broker. Now, add all of that up, across every road, on every continent, $10 billion a year. That money has to go somewhere. It goes to recruiters, people in villages and towns who identify who wants to move and connect them with the next link in the chain. It goes to transporters, boat operators, lorry drives, people who run safe houses along the road, and it goes to bribes, lots of bribes, border officials, police, Coast Guard units, local militia. Every checkpoint on the road has a price, and someone is paying it. Then the money has to be hidden. You can't deposit $10 billion into a normal bank account without someone noticing. So it moves through small businesses, travel agencies, transport, money transfer shops that look completely ordinary from the outside, and through a system called Hawala, an ancient trust basic network where you hand cash to a broker in Lagos, and that same amount appears in Tripoli through a phone call with no paper trail, no bank record, no trace. The FATF, the global body that tracks money laundering, flagged Hawala specifically as one of the main systems used to move smuggling profits across borders. And here is something that surprised me. When I was researching this, these networks have modernized. They recruit on a social media. They take payments in cryptocurrency. The smuggling business looks like a tech startup from the inside. The only thing that hasn't kept up is the way governments are trying to stop it. Here is where it gets complicated, because when you trace who actually benefits from the system, you find three very different kinds of players, and they don't look like anything like each other. But they are all connected. The first one is obvious: organized crime. In late 2024, Interpol ran its largest ever operation against human smuggling networks. 116 countries, more than 2,500 arrests. They found something important. The same criminal groups running drugs were people running people. When you already have the infrastructure to move illegal goods across borders, adding human beings is just expanding the product line. The second one is harder to talk about because it involves the governments. The European Union has spent over 700 million euros funding Libya's Coast Guard. Since 2014, the idea was simple: pay Libya stop boats before they reach European waters. But journalists and investigators found something troubling. The Libyan Coast Guard units receiving that European money, some of them had documented ties to the same smuggling networks they were supposed to be stopping. And it goes further. The EU has paid Egypt millions, Tunisia hundreds of millions, Morocco, Mauritania. The logic is always the same: pay them to stop people at their borders. But human rights investigators keep documenting the same problem. The forces doing the stopping are often the forces doing the smuggling. Members of the European Parliament called this out directly. They accused the Commission of, in their words, bankrolling the wrong people. The Commission denied it and then signed more deals. The third one is the one nobody talks about, and I think it might be the most important. Right now, something happening in the United Kingdom. A landlord has a property. Maybe it's a flat they are struggling to rent. Maybe interest rates went up and the numbers stopped making sense. They sign a contract with a private company. Call it Serco. Serco leases the property for a minimum of 5 years. Guaranteed rent every single month, no matter what happens, no matter if the tenant leaves, no matter what the housing market does. Serco also covers maintenance, gas certificates, electric checks. And who does Serco house in these properties? Asylum seekers, people who arrive without documents, people who cannot legally work and cannot rent anymore on the open market. The British government pays Serco to house them. Serco pays the landlord. The landlord collects guaranteed income, backed entirely by public money. Serco report annual profits of over £145 million. The government is currently housing over 30,000 asylum seekers. Now think carefully about the incentive here. The longer an asylum case takes resolve, and in the UK, cases routinely take 2, 3, 4 years, the longer that guaranteed rent flows. There is no financial incentive for anyone in these chains to resolve cases quickly. The incentive is to manage them slowly, profitably. And the UK is not alone. Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden, France, most of them, every country that has scaled up asylum accommodation has built, alongside it, a private industry that depends on the problem not being solved. I want to stop here for a moment, because it is very easy to talk about $10 billion and government contracts and the guaranteed rent and forget what is actually happening to the people at the center of all of this. In Libya, people trying to reach Europe and up in the detention facilities. The United Nations has documented torture, forced labor, sexual violence, and killings. And some of those facilities are overseen by the same Coast Guard units that receive European funding. One man interviewed by journalists described electric shocks, people beaten in front of him. These are not rumors. These are documented accounts collected by the UN. In Myanmar and Cambodia, over 220,000 people are estimated to be trapped in what investigators call scam compounds. They saw a job advert online. They paid to get there, and when they arrived, they found themselves locked in a building, forced to run online fraud operations at gunpoint. Many of them were migrants, people who had paid someone to help them find something better, and ended up much deeper inside the machine than they ever imagined possible. In the jungle between Colombia and Panama, families pay smugglers to guide them through. Children, pregnant women, people in their 60s, they pay because staying feels more dangerous than going. These people are not incidental to the system. They are the system. Without them, there is no product. Without them, there is no $10 billion. Without them, none of this exists. I started this by asking a simple question: why does it keep happening? And what I found was not a conspiracy. There is no room somewhere with people sitting around the table planning all of this. What I found was something more ordinary and somehow more troubling. A system where nobody has to plan anything because the incentives already point in the right direction for the right people. Criminal networks stay profitable, governments stay busy, and the people who could change it are the same people who benefit from it staying. So I keep coming back to the same question. And I don't genuinely have an answer. If the system works for the people it's designed to work for, what will it actually take to build a different one?